Hello everyone, welcome to my video on solving quadratic equations. There are several things in this foldable. We do have solving by graphing here. What I want to focus on is the inside. So if you can open up your foldable the entire way, and we're going to be looking at quadratic formula. So solving by hand in standard form, you can be using quadratic formula. So that means standard form, if I have 0 equals, so I have ax squared plus bx plus c. If my quadratic looks like this, then I could use quadratic formula to solve it. So if your quadratic didn't look like this, you would have to put it in this form first. So you probably have learned quadratic formula before, at least in Algebra 1, possibly in geometry, maybe depending who your teacher was. And you'll notice the formula has b, which is here, a, c, which are these, and then this symbol right here. Let me actually zoom in. That symbol, plus minus, which means that you're going to be doing this here twice, once with a plus and once with subtraction. So let's just jump into an example, and hopefully this will kind of jog your memory as we go. So start with your equation in standard form, and here we have solve for x, 2x squared, so here's my a, plus 2x, here's my b, plus c, and here's my c. So the negative goes with it. So first I want to identify a, b, and c, which I just did. A is 2, b is 2, c is negative 4. Then I want to substitute those values into the quadratic formula. So I'm going to put x equals, and this is negative b. So since my b is positive, I'm going to write a negative 2. If my b were negative, it would just be a positive number in front, because whatever it is, I put a negative, so double negative. Then I have plus minus, so plus minus, square root, then b squared. When you square a number, if you're squaring a positive, parentheses don't matter so much, but when you're squaring a negative, they do matter. So just get into the habit of always putting that in parentheses before you square it. Minus 4 times a times c. And that's all, so the whole thing over 2a. So the trickiest part about this for a lot of kids is how to put this in the calculator so that you don't, like if you put it in the calculator wrong, you're going to get the wrong answer, even if you set it up correctly on your paper. So we are going to look at that here in just a second. And I feel like it's easier to do as it says here, simplify the value inside the radical. Remember, radical is this symbol here, the square root in this case. And then simplify the denominator. So if you do those little pieces first, then you'll be much less likely to make a mistake when you get the rest into your calculator. So let's do that. Let's do x equals negative 2 plus minus square root. Now I'm going to put 2 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4, all this, in the calculator and get a value for that first. So 2, now when I was going to get into the habit of using parentheses, even though I don't need it for a positive, good to get into the habit. So 2 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4, press enter, and I get 36. So I have 2 plus or minus the square root of 36, and we'll simplify that in a second because we know that that's 6. And then go ahead and do 2 times 2, which is 4. And, since that comes out to a whole number, let's just simplify that. So I have negative 2 plus or minus square root of 36 is 6, because 6 times 6 is 36, over 4. And it says enter the rest in the calculator. So I need to do it like this. So x equals negative 2. Now here's what I break apart my plus minus. I'm going to do it the first time with a plus. And when you put that in the calculator, either use the fraction key or put parentheses around it. In my other solution, I'm going to do the same thing but subtract them. Like that. Again, parentheses or fraction key, whichever. And let's see what we get. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4. 4 over 4 is 1. So x equals 1. Or, and then negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Divided by 4 is negative 2. Okay, and so these are my solutions. So these are solutions. They are also, in this case, roots, x-intercepts, and zeros. Okay, so all those words in this case mean the same thing. I've got, oh, let's just pick on number 1. Why not? So I've got my quadratic. It is in standard form because we see it equals 0, and then I've got ax squared plus bx plus c. And I'm just going to follow the same steps. So step 1, identify a, b, and c. Here's a, b, c. And again, our c ended up being negative this time, so make sure you include the negative with it. Then I want to substitute those values into the quadratic formula. So let me show that here for you. Right there, so I'm going to substitute it into that. So x equals, so negative b, so negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 4 squared, and get into the habit of using parentheses, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 132, all over 2 times a. And then I want to simplify a little bit before I plug that into the calculator because it reduces the chance I'll make a mistake. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus, and I'm going to just put all this in my calculator. So 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 132, and I get 1600. Which, by the way, has a nice square root. But if you didn't know that, that's okay. And then simplify 2 times 3, which is 6. Now, if you recognize the 16 and the 100 there, well, square root of 16 is 4, square root of 100 is 10, so square root of 1600 is 40, which is 4 times 10. But if you didn't know that, that's all right. You could still just put this into your calculator. In fact, let's do that. So let's say you didn't recognize that square root would be 40. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it twice, once with plus, once with minus. So x equals negative 4 plus square root of 1600 over 6. That'll be one of my solutions. My other will be the same thing, but subtract. I should not have put that calculator in my way. Okay. And then go ahead and plug that in. So negative 4 plus square root of 1600 over 6, which is 6. And I'm just going to copy it. So if you press up arrow twice, highlight it, press enter, that'll copy what you wrote before. And then you can just change the addition to a subtraction. And you get negative 22 over 3. Now you can leave improper fractions, nothing wrong with it. So here are my solutions. Again, solutions, roots, x-intercepts in this case, zeros, So when your solutions are real numbers, these are all synonyms. Real roots, real solutions, x-intercepts. So just get used to all those words together. So most of your assignment is like this. You're just going to practice using the formula. On the front, they're all in standard form for you. Some of them have variables other than x, but that's fine. You just put r equals instead of x equals, and it's the same thing. On the back, you do have to put them in standard form first. So let's say number 7, for instance. I need it to look like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 17 from both sides and subtract 3x from both sides. You could have subtracted them 2x squared though. It would be the same thing. So 2x squared minus 3x minus 17. And that's horribly blurry. Oh my goodness. And that 2 is huge. Equals 0. Camera, behave yourself. Equals 0. And then you would plug it into formula. So here's your A. Here's your B, negative 3. Your C is negative 17. And you would go from there. Thank you for watching, and we will work on this in class.